But beyond the definition, whenever we talk about blue economy, we generally consider three important pillars. One is value creation, two is inclusivity, and three is sustainability. And the sustainability pillar we consider is the most important pillar at this time, at this juncture. We have to ensure growth. I mentioned in the morning also, all our countries are developing countries. They are yearning for growth. So that growth has to be ensured, but also sustainability should be the underlying factor while ensuring growth. So in this session, I expect our panelists to focus on some of these issues like questions of sustainability, blue energy, the new phrase, the energy resources that we can derive out of the oceans, which can actually, supplement our green targets to the tune of 21%. That is the scope, potential that we have. So about blue energy related issues, we have blue food issues, the fisheries and allied industry, tackling the challenge of food scarcity, food shortage. Then, of course, for all this to happen, blue finance, finding institutions that cater to the financial needs of blue economy. Not to forget that the impact of this blue economy, because in terms of sustainability, what is going to be the impact of it on, for example, issues like food security, poverty alleviation, resilience against dangerous consequences of climate change, maritime cooperation, job opportunities, and, as I said, the developmental needs of most of the littoral countries. So blue economy in that sense is a very vast topic. That's why I assure our three keynote speakers, that you have not 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, you have 15 plus minutes, 18 to 19 minutes time is given to each one of you. You have ample time. This topic is big, so please feel free to take your time. May I start with you? Yes. General, Admiral, please. Yes.
Navy chiefs, senior and flag officers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm Rear Admiral Takenaka Nobuyuki, Director General, Operations and Plans Department, Maritime Staff Office, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Commander of Sri Lanka Navy, Vice Admiral Pereira, for the wonderful hospitality, and my heartiest congratulations on the successful organization of the event. I would like to talk a little bit about the history between Japan and Sri Lanka. The first record of exchanges between Japan and Sri Lanka dates back to 1862, when a Japanese delegation visited Sri Lanka on their way to and from Europe. This delegation included the famous educator and entrepreneur Fukuzawa Yukichi, who is also the face of the Japanese 10,000 yen note since 1984. Later, Fukuzawa founded Keio Gijuku, the forerunner of Japan's first private university, Keio University. Students from university, including Zen master Shaku Soen, who was the first Japanese monk to introduce Zen to Europe, came to Sri Lanka to study Buddhism. Despite the distance at the time, in this way, the two countries were connected by the seas. At all times and across generations, the seas provide us with opportunities for exchange and development. Today, I will be giving a speech on the theme of opportunities and challenges related to the ocean economy and JMSDF activities. The Indo-Pacific region is the center of the world's growth and vitality and accounts for more than half of the global population, representing approximately 60% of the global GDP. For many countries in the region, the oceans provide immense opportunities for economic development. And to many of us, the ocean is essential to our maritime industries, such as transport and fishery. The stability of the ocean is the backbone for our country's activities. And the key to prosperity is the stable use of the vital sea lines of communication. The significance of safe seas, in other words, free and open seas in the region, is growing year by year. However, this region faces many challenges. In addition to the unilateral attempts to change status quo by force, IUU fishing, piracy, smuggling, and terrorism, and natural disasters caused by climate change pose a serious threat to maritime order in the region, and the threats are becoming more severe. The idea proposed to cope with these threats and challenges and to develop the Indo-Pacific Ocean as a global commons in the free and open Indo-Pacific. FOIP was first put forward in 2007 by the then Japanese Prime Minister Abe Shinzo at the Parliament of the Republic of India. And the concept was unveiled in his keynote address at the 6th Tokyo International Conference on African Development in 2016. His speech advocated the ideology to aim to foster regional stability and prosperity by improving connectivity between Asia, which is experiencing a remarkable growth, and Africa, where possibility abound through a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Furthermore, this March, at the India Council of World Affairs, Japanese Prime Minister Kishida Fumio announced a new vision called Our HOIP, which is a developed version of FOIP. The new vision focuses on enhancing connectivity of the Indo-Pacific region, fostering the region into a place that values freedom, the rule of law, and makes it prosperous, and with core principle of respect for diversity, inclusiveness, and openness. The Indo-Pacific region is at the core of the world's growth and vitality. encompassing half of the global population. Therefore, it's crucial for us to secure the peace and prosperity of the region by pursuing the region as a free and open global commons. The slide, JMSDF. The JMSDF has been engaging in building stronger ties with other navies to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific. I would like to share with you 3 of activities today. The first one is about our counter-piracy activities since 2008. We have been witnessing numerous piracy-related incidents off the coast of Somalia and in the Gulf of Aden. However, with multinational initiatives such as asset deployments as part of national tasking by countries, the setup of the combined task force 151 in Bahrain, and Operation Atalanta by the EU Naval Force. Piracy activities are now shifting to a lower level, but it goes without saying that it's highly likely for us to see a resurgence of piracy if each navy's presence decreases in the region. As Somalia's poverty and instability, the root causes of piracy, have not been solved yet. The JMCF has been in this region since 2009, dispatching assets to ensure the safe passage of commercial vessels, sending staff to CTF 151 and other headquarters to strengthen cooperation with other countries' commands, and to improve anti-piracy strategies. We will continue to hold presence in this region with other CMF participating countries to tackle threats toward maritime security and secure peaceful and stable navigation for ships in the region. Next is the JMSDF HADR activities with the increasing impact of the extreme weather and natural disasters that we are seeing in recent years. The Indo-Pacific region is inevitably the most disaster-prone in the world. Our country is no exception, and the JMSDF has been committed to many disaster relief missions so far. Using our experience in HADR, we have offered aid to countries in the Indo-Pacific region. Among them, let me talk about the volcanic eruption in the Kingdom of Tonga, which occurred in January 2022. The JMSDF instantly deployed JSO SUMI LST to provide approximately 210 tons of emergency relief materials, such as drinking water and equipment to help remove volcanic ash, even under the COVID-19 pandemic restriction. Close cooperation with partners such as Australia and New Zealand enable us to complete our mission promptly and properly. We also work together with many other nations, governments, and NGOs to understand the needs of affected area and provide effective assistance, including livelihood aid at our ships. In this way, the JMSDF offers support and cooperates with other organizations in the event of a disaster. We are also working on activities to disseminate this knowledge and our expertise to many countries by offering HADR workshop. Lastly, let me share with you the JMSDF deployment in the Indo-Pacific as our third activity, which we call it the Indo-Pacific deployment, in short, IPD. The purpose of IPD is to be able to improve our tactical activities and interoperability with other navies, and to strengthen ties with them. During activity, the JMSDF dispatches destroyers to the Indo-Pacific and conducts various joint exercises with other navies that are also deployed to the region. Furthermore, our destroyers are equipped with disaster relief supplies to enable us to respond to a possible disaster when we are at sea. This year, we made 17 port calls during the 5-month deployment from April to September. The peace and stability of the region are essential for not only for safe navigation, but also for the energy security and economic stability in the world. The JMSDF will visit more countries and continue our efforts to strengthen ties between them for the peace and stability of the region. As we are in the midst of a complex security environment, the cooperation and collaboration between countries are imperative to maintain the maritime order, which is the basis for development of the maritime economy. The JMSDF will continue to make every effort to work together closely with our ally and like-minded partners in realizing a free and open Indo-Pacific, and in addition to avoiding unforeseen events at sea, we will contribute to strengthening and maintaining the maritime order. Again, I would like to extend my gratitude for the opportunity of this speech. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Admiral Nobuyuki. You have focused on the Japanese Navy's contributions to maintaining free and open Indo-Pacific, and your counter-piracy activities, HADR and IPD activities. Thank you very much. As you also mentioned, peace and stability is the prerequisite for economic development, and Japan's contribution in managing this region peacefully is a very significant one, which Admiral has highlighted just now. Thank you, Admiral. Admiral Nawaz, sir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the worthy moderator for allowing us the full 20 minutes and saving us from the agony to condense the thoughts in 5 minutes at such a short notice. Thank you, sir. It is a personal pleasure for me to be here at the Galle Dialogue 2023, and in the next few minutes, I should talk about reviewing policy coherence and coordination in the sustainable development of the blue economy in the Indian Ocean. Surely, the Sri Lankan Navy deserves commendation for successfully organizing Galle Dialogue since 2010. Sri Lankan Navy's commitment and resolve towards achieving regional maritime cooperation to face common challenges in the maritime realm through this dialogue are praiseworthy. The forum provides an opportunity to deliberate upon maritime-related challenges and their possible solutions. The scheme that I shall follow to cover this topic is as flashed. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that oceans and seas are critical elements of global economy, food and energy security, as well as for livelihood. As highlighted in the previous papers, oceans are the world's single largest ecosystem, covering nearly 3/4 of Earth's surface, thereby providing a massive arena for emerging complex and interconnected development issues such as climate change, livelihoods, commerce, and security. Accordingly, the concept of blue economy has thus gained currency as an essential element with respect to regional and global development. Ladies and gentlemen, among the world's oceanic divisions, the Indian Ocean is the third largest, covering an area of more than 70 million square kilometers. Indian Ocean, due to its vast expanse, also plays a crucial role in the global economy, biodiversity, and geopolitics. It is home to diverse ecosystems, supports the livelihood of millions, and serves as a key transport route for goods and resources. In recent years, there has been growing recognition of the potential of the blue economy in the Indian Ocean region. Ladies and gentlemen, majority of littorals in the Indian Ocean are developing countries and are home to 1/3 of world's population that rely extensively on marine resources for livelihood and food security. The sheer size of this population subjects the Indian Ocean resources to pressures from pollution, habitat degradation, and overexploitation. Moreover, the region and its resources face multidimensional challenges from climate change, impacts such as sea level rise, ocean acidification, and extreme weather events, the latter in turn leading to changes in distribution of aquatic species, community structures due to migration, and decreased economic productivity. It is imperative, therefore, to increase the cooperation towards conservation and sustainable use of the oceans, seas, and maritime resources as outlined in the goal number 14 of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Given the continuing growth of the human population in the coming decades, urgent action in the improvement of policy coherence and blue governance structure is crucial in order to preserve the Indian Ocean's resources for future generations, including those in areas beyond national jurisdictions. Ladies and gentlemen, blue economy has emerged as an influential concept for sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihood and jobs, and ocean ecosystems health. It is redefining the role of coastal states, international organizations, and the global community in sustainable development. The ocean is increasingly being advocated as a development space by developing and developed nations. Accordingly, there has been a rapid proliferation of international and national blue economy initiatives. However, it has also brought to light concerns about oceans' health in face of increasing demands on oceans' renewable and non-renewable resources, marine pollution, and climate change. Thus, realizing this potential is not without its challenges, particularly in terms of policy coherence, coordination, and governance architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, drawing on the existing examples of promoting blue growth and sustainable development in other regions of the globe, this paper will now discuss the major challenges and propose measures at national, regional, and international levels in the domain of policy coherence and coordination. At national level, most of the Indian Ocean region's member states have designed their respective national maritime policies and laws that separately address the issues pertaining to sustainable management in the domains of fisheries, environmental conservation, and climate change. However, there is often a weak governance framework at national level with limited implementation and fragile oversight mechanism, which has resulted in exploitation of countries' natural environment for the growth of blue economy. Ladies and gentlemen, at the regional level, each country has its own set of priorities, interests, and policies according to national requirements. To align these policies at regional level, according to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 14, coherence, regulation, and management of blue economic activities is the need of the time. While there have been few policy initiatives in the recent times, regional efforts in the Indian Oceans have remained disjointed in general and therefore advocates formulation of a strong regional policy framework with particular focus on food security, sustainable growth, and climate action. The envisaged inclusive multilateral framework agreement may introduce a system to provide an overarching framework of sub-regional and sectoral approaches covering marine areas, allocation of fishing rights, combating pollution and climate change mitigation, and other systemic issues. Achieving a balance between economic growth and environmental sustainability is a perennial challenge. Illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, destructive fishing practices, habitat degradation, and pollution are major threats to the Indian Ocean's marine ecosystems. Without effective coordination, the exploitation of marine resources can lead to irreversible environmental damage, impacting the long-term viability of the blue economy. Therefore, essential feature for success is through coordination amongst relevant stakeholders. Data concerning the Indian Ocean, its scientific scrutiny and onward sharing is usually limited. Integrated systems to identify and deter non-compliance through independent verification and auditing, additional data collection, improved data sharing, and scientific analyses concerning all activities and environmental impacts in the region are needed to monitor and adaptively improve cooperation and governance across the Indian Ocean. Mechanisms for sharing scientific research and data on the Indian Ocean's marine ecosystem among the IUR countries is vital. Collaboration in research is purported to help in understanding the dynamics of the ocean, the distribution of marine species, and the impact of human activities. Accordingly, evidence-based policies are essential for effective management and conservation efforts. In addition, countries having wherewithal of carrying out scientific research can play an important role by assisting countries without these facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, at international level, the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 14 underscores the importance of international collaboration. Bilateral and multilateral agreements, as well as partnerships with international organizations, can significantly contribute to the sustainable development of the blue economy in the region. Various global international agreements provide a common platform for law and policy development in the Indian Ocean region. Majority of Indian Ocean states have ratified the key international environmental treaties and frameworks for oceans governance that create obligations to protect and preserve the marine environment. Some of these include the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Convention on Biological Diversity, Convention on Migratory Species, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, United Nations Conventions on the Law of the Sea, and the Agreement on Conservation and Management of Straddling Fish Stocks and Highly Migratory Fish Stocks. However, there is still often there is lack of detailed guidelines in national and regional policy frameworks for achieving the goals set out by these agreements. Ladies and gentlemen, conduct of exhibitions, conferences, and seminars for shared awareness and technology on sustainable development of blue economy can help in learning from each other's experience and can open multiple avenues, especially for the small coastal countries. Conduct of Gold Conference since 2010 is also an excellent example of one such initiative. International organizations can support capacity development in the region through training programs, technology transfer, and knowledge sharing. This can empower coastal states with the skills and resources needed to implement and enforce policies that promote the sustainable development of the blue economy. Blue diplomacy involves addressing disputes and conflicts related to maritime domain through peaceful means and negotiated settlements. Building trust and cooperation amongst nations is essential for sustainable development. Diplomatic effort can lead to the resolution of territorial disputes and establishment of mechanisms for collaboration in the blue economy sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, having discussed some of the proposed measures for suitable development of the blue economy, I shall now highlight Pakistan's efforts towards promotion of Pakistan's blue economy. Pakistan Navy is playing a key role in generating maritime awareness and channelizing efforts to reap full potential of Pakistan's maritime sector and promote blue economy in the country. In this regard, various measures are being taken under the ambit of Maritime Awareness Campaign Plan, some of which are regular conduct of maritime-related briefings and visits to relevant government officials and policy makers for maritime awareness and improved policy making at the government level, restructuring of Ministry of Maritime Affairs to bring all stakeholders related to maritime affairs under one hierarchy, revision of the draft National Maritime Policy and Maritime Strategy, domain-specific research at Maritime Center of Excellence and National Institute of Maritime Affairs to render viable policy options to the government officials for development of Pakistan's maritime sectors, support for continuous systematic research and surveys for mapping of marine resources in Pakistan's exclusive economic zone, and in this regard, mapping of free gas, crude oils, and gas hydrates have indicated some promising results. Engagement with business community to promote development of maritime sector and undertake commercially viable projects to generate funds to contribute to national economy. Awareness at national level on implications of marine pollution, and after continuous efforts, Marine Pollution Control Board has been established to control the marine pollution in our maritime zones. Frequent mangroves plantation campaign in line with the government's vision of Plant for Pakistan are being carried out to secure the marine habitat. Since 2016, plantation of more than 7.5 million mangroves in coastal areas have been undertaken. Enforcement of effective mechanism against destructive fishing practices through joint operations of Pakistan's maritime security agencies and fisheries departments. Establishment of joint maritime information center to evolve as a hub of maritime information in the region through seamless coordination and information sharing between concerned stakeholders to augment maritime safety and security. The center is linked with 48 national and 7 international coordination centers. In order to support the effort for promoting blue economy, Pakistan has also recently conducted Pakistan International Maritime Expo and Conference known as PIMEC 2023 in Karachi, which was participated by a large number of international representatives. The purpose of this expo was to bring industry, business community, fishery, policy makers, and various coastal development organizations under one umbrella to chalk out common policies, goals, and areas of interest for sustainable development of blue economy. I would reiterate that Pakistan's maritime sector has huge potential, which is yet to be fully exploited for economic development of the country, and the government will continue to play its role for the development of maritime sector at national, regional, and international level. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, sustainable development of the blue economy in the Indian Ocean is a multifaceted endeavor that necessitates policy coherence, effective coordination, and international collaboration. While challenges such as fragmented governance, environmental sustainability, and security concerns persist, opportunities for progress exist through regional integration, blue diplomacy, and capacity building. International collaboration is essential to unlock the full potential of the Indian Ocean's blue economy. As nations in the region work together and align their policies, they can achieve economic growth while preserving the ocean's ecological integrity for generations to come. I thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, Admiral. That was a detailed and a very comprehensive presentation. And I must tell you, you didn't take your full time. You completed your presentation in less than 15 minutes, but you covered some very, Friends Admiral covered some very important areas. For example, the issue of the areas beyond natural jurisdiction, or the issue of concerns of the ocean health. These are some of the very important issues, and of course the new phrase blue diplomacy is again an interesting concept that he placed before us, and of course he also placed before us the Pakistan's efforts in managing blue economy. I found this Maritime Pollution Board to be really an interesting thing, which probably many countries can learn. Definitely, if we are not doing it already in India, we should also probably know more about it. Friends, we have Commander Simon with us from UK. Commander, your time.
Excellent. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. There we go, good. Sir, Ma'am, ladies and gentlemen, and honoured guests, I'd like to open by thanking our hosts for organising an exceptional conference and for giving us the opportunity to meet and work together in this wonderful location. And I'd particularly like to thank all of those who work behind the scenes, because very often we forget the massive amount of work that has to go in terms of the organisation of this and the smooth running of it. So thank you very much. I'm honoured today to represent the Royal Navy and our First Sea Lord, and humbled to be presenting on a subject I know that some of you will know very well and are closely involved with, and a subject I think we would recognise is of considerable importance, both in terms of transitioning to a future that reflects the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, but also spurs economic growth whilst tackling climate change. A future that sees us preserving our oceans, the standard of life ashore and at sea, and safeguarding our future. And I thought the overview of blue economy and the broad impacts were brilliantly covered. And this dials in a little bit more narrowly on maritime transport within that sector. And for decades, the transport industry as a whole has been considering how to reduce its environmental footprint. A wide range of stakeholders has taken part in public debate on transport and climate change, and yet one sector has remained a little bit quiet in the conversation, and that is the sector of maritime transport. So understanding and tackling the shipping industry's role in environmental protection isn't as important as it is for other methods of transport. Maritime transportation accounts for the majority of global freight transport. Ships carry around 80% of the volume of all world trade and 70% of its value. And in addition, although shipping is considered the most energy efficient of transport, it still uses huge amounts of so-called bunker fuels, the byproduct of crude oil refining that takes a heavy toll on the environment. Global audiences are now calling on the maritime sector to challenge the status quo and limit its environmental impact and its overall place in the sustainable development of the blue economy. So the main thrust of the question would, on the surface, appear to be focusing on defining sustainable maritime transport, and from there considering a sort of net zero shipping, green shipping. And whilst this is a significant factor in terms of the sustainable development of maritime transport, it's only one facet in a complex and integrated system. And so I've sort of slightly adjusted the focus of the question just to make it a bit easier to sort of understand, and that is what is the contribution of maritime transportation to the sustainable development of the blue economy? So my paper concludes that rather than considering maritime transport's contribution to sustainable development of the blue economy through the adoption of a series of individual measures, that's to sort of narrowly focus on a green ship, it's a greater value to consider how the sustainable development of maritime transportation can contribute to broader transformation, which is not only of environmental benefit, but which offers significant economic benefit. In the same way we cannot continue to destroy our planet's ecosystem for profit, we cannot protect the planet while jeopardizing the livelihoods of the huge proportion of the world's population that depend on the blue economy, or by strangling the arteries through which the lifeblood of the world's economy flows. To support this hypothesis, the paper is broken down into three sections. So section one, consider the definition of maritime transport within the context of the blue economy, outlining its contribution and economic importance, but also reflecting on the pressures that it applies across the social, economic and environmental sections. And then section two will examine the concept of sustainability and introduce the concept of environmental, social and governance, or ESG, as a lens that I'd like to sort of introduce you to consider sustainable development of maritime transportation. And then the final section will cover some of the impediments to the transformation of the sector and give you with just one example of how approaching the sustainable development of maritime transport, that is the importance of designing a whole life cycle for maritime transport could form a model for the future. So in its broadest sense, the blue economy or the ocean economy is a term used to describe the economic activities associated with the oceans and the seas. In total, it's estimated to be worth more than 2.5 trillion per year globally, which the OECD predicts may double in size by 2030. It provides over 30 million jobs and supplies a vital source of protein to over 3 billion people. There is, however, no consensus on the exact definition, and the lens through which the blue economy is viewed depends on the organisation that uses it. The World Bank defines it as the sustainable use of ocean resources to benefit economies, livelihood, and ocean ecosystem health. But within the context of this paper, the most significant aspect is that the concept, as first highlighted by the UN in 2012, is underpinned by the requirement for sustainable management based on the fundamental argument that maritime ecosystems and the system as a whole are productive when it's healthy in every single sense. So within the maritime ecosystem of blue economy, maritime transportation is equally broad and includes passenger transportation, so that's sea, coastal, inland, passenger, water transport, freight transport, so sea, coastal freight and inland freight, water transport, and services for transport, renting and leasing water transport equipment, so pretty broad. We in the maritime community know and understand the strategic importance of maritime transportation to the global economy. Both maritime transport and its related activities have a disproportionately significant impact on that economy, influencing almost every sector, directly or indirectly. And whilst maritime transport itself is considered the lifeblood of global trade, a lot of other industries also rely heavily upon it, as an array of resources are transported to manufacturing centres and their products moved via sea onto the global market, sort of a form of the Mahanian maritime virtuous circle, you could say. Oh, one slide you see. So, based on a recent analysis of its economic contribution to the European Union, which accounts for a significant volume of the world's fleet, maritime transport and its related sectors constitute around 40% of the total value added of blue economic activities. Moreover, across a broad range of academic research, there is significant evidence indicating a positive link between maritime transport, related investments, and economic growth, with a stronger correlation with economic growth than land and air transportation. Beyond the purely economic benefits of the sector, historically, maritime transport has also had a critical role in proliferating ideas and culture, and for many maritime, transport supports leisure and social activity. Even though among all modes of transport, so air, road and rail, the maritime sector is considered to be the most environmentally friendly, maritime transportation still applies significant pressure on the environment, and there's an equivalent negative correlation between environmental impacts and economic growth. The major focus has been on the global impact of air pollutants and greenhouse gas emissions caused by ships and ports. This is primarily exhaust emissions, namely carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and particulates. As an example, the proportion of maritime transport of all globally emitted greenhouse gases is assessed to be as large as 2.9%. However, beyond these global environmental impacts, the local marine and coastal environment is affected by maritime transport as the activity generates the risk of accidents and acute pollution events. It impacts local ecosystems through the historical use of antifoulants, underwater noise, maritime litter, and the introduction of invasive alien species, mostly due to ballast water discharges. With the IMO estimating that carbon emissions from shipping could increase by 90 to 130% by 2050, there have also been calls for the maritime transport sector to do more. It's within that context that this paper proposes an expansion on the concept of sustainability and sustainable development, and introduces the concept of environmental social governance, which provides a useful model against which to consider the broader sustainable development of the sector as it considers the benefits of sustainability within a profitable business model. The broad concept of sustainability has been interwoven into almost every aspect of modern life, but can have a range of differing interpretations. While the terms are often used interchangeably, it is distinct from sustainable development. UNESCO provides the following definition. Sustainability is often thought as a long-term goal, i.e. a more sustainable world, while sustainable development refers to the many processes and pathways to achieve it. The UN Brundtland Commission report defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The UN has defined 17 Sustainable Development Goals, recognising the need to work together globally and holistically. Many of the SDGs require a change of mindset and behaviour for successful implementation. Sustainability is often considered as having three supporting pillars: economic, social, environmental. But the business community moves beyond sustainability and assesses financial performance and long-term value of potential investments by considering risks and opportunities associated with environmental, social, and governance, or ESG factors. ESG and sustainability are related, but not the same. ESG is more specific and focused on investors, while sustainability is broader and covers internal and external stakeholders. By considering ESG factors material to a business and taking a risk-based approach to strategic thinking and growth management, companies improve transparency across the whole organisation, allowing for better operational management and hence improving performance. The underpinning of ESG is that sustainability builds business value, with analysis concluding that resource-efficient companies deliver higher financial returns, higher levels of innovation, and corresponding margins and returns on assets and equity. By understanding the risks and issues presented across ESG, you can see how this presents as a useful model to apply to the sustainable development of the maritime transport sector, i.e. the processes and pathways to achieve sustainability, an approach that could be applied to every level of the sector, from a small-scale business to a national or multinational perspective. So this final section will consider one specific pillar of the model, that of environmental sustainability, a concept that is more than simply environmental protection. This section will examine some of the barriers to the transformation of the sector and introduce the importance of the establishment of a life cycle model to enable environmental sustainability. There are considerable structural issues that present the maritime industry from rapid sector-wide sustainability initiatives, particularly in terms of attracting private sector investment and supporting developing nations' needs. The transition of a traditional sector with a mix of infrastructure, shipping and supporting infra, in terms of the age of platforms and the breadth of operational requirements, infers huge investment, and the shipping market is highly volatile and cyclical with little stable cash flow. There is simply no incentive to apply technological or operational solutions to green the existing fleet or supporting investment in shipbuilding. These disincentives are amplified by a lack of certainty over technological solutions or a long-term vision for the sustainable development of the maritime transport sector. Additionally, there's been insufficient pressure on the industry to self-regulate or manage externally imposed restrictions. These factors alone demonstrate the importance of the impetus for change to come from consumers, from the boardroom and shareholders, and from the adoption of a broader model which integrates across the sustainability pillars to provide long-term certainty, profitability, and environmental protection. Given the structural challenges facing the sustainable development of the maritime transport sector, it's even more important that focus in this area is centred on the synergy between business value and the adoption of measures across the spectrum of ESG to satisfy the shareholders' demand for profit within an environmentally aware model. There are various emerging technologies available to reduce the sector's immediate impact on the environment. However, to be environmentally sustainable, the industry must adopt a model which assesses its environmental impact of the whole life cycle across every element of maritime transport. Moreover, it must be convinced that following a sustainable approach across ESG and applying its principles to asset design, procurement, operation, disposal can also provide opportunities for improvements and more efficient operation throughout the platform lifecycle. A critical element in sustainable development is incorporating environmental impact assessments and mitigation into every aspect of the sector to ensure we don't leave a toxic legacy. This can be achieved by designing with the end in mind, and building in circularity. So we design to dismantle and reuse and recycle responsibility. This is particularly relevant given the very recent adoption of the Hong Kong International Convention for Safe and Environmentally Sound Recycling of Ships, which from 2025 requires that ships, when being recycled after reaching the end of their operation lives, do not pose any unnecessary risks to human health, safety, and to the environment. To consider the Royal Navy's approach to asset management as an example, which undoubtedly mirrors your own and the commercial sector, the life cycle is considered to follow the path of concept, assessment, demonstration, manufacture, in-service, disposal, so CADMID. Using this life cycle framework allows the designer to assess and minimize the overall impact on the environment. It equally applies to components, equipment, systems, and platforms. By undertaking an environmental impact assessment early in the life cycle, the full environmental impact of any platform across its life and into disposal can be understood and mitigated. The impacts of the production, transportation, and disposal aspects of a program are often overlooked, yet easily designed out during the early phases, and by reassessing through the life cycle, rather than attempting to remedy the impacts of equipment or platforms once in service. By starting with the end in mind, the design of the platform may be optimized throughout its life. The EIA should be reviewed at key milestones throughout the design process, for example, at design reviews and when a key design change is made, to assess the impact of the platform at each phase of its life cycle. The cost of designing mitigations at the front end is almost always lower and simpler than attempting to rectify later. The United Nations states that the blue economy should promote growth, social inclusion, and the preservation or improvement of livelihoods, whilst at the same time ensuring environmental sustainability of the oceans and coastal areas. My brief to you today, has sought to define the importance of maritime transport within the context of the blue economy, highlighting its significance to the global economy, but also outlining the impact it has across economic, social, and environmental pillars of sustainability, all of which are predicted to significantly increase in the near term. It highlighted a range of structural challenges to be overcome to transform the industry, providing a model for consideration which, rather than focusing on environmental protection and low-carbon vessels, broadened the concept of sustainability and introduced the ESG business model, which focuses on sustainability as a key factor in profitability. In meeting its ambitious sustainment development goals, the United Nations highlights the importance of global cooperation across borders and sectors, and suggests that governments, organisations and decision makers need to join forces to ensure that their policies are coherent. This paper suggests that within the context of the blue economy, maritime transport has an important role to play, and that with the adoption of ESG across the life cycle of its platforms, programmes and supporting industries, it can harness the synergy between the provision of a profitable livelihood today and safeguarding the future of generations to come.
Commander, thank you very much, and this is for people like me, a totally new area. It's a revelation to know that our ships can do so much good and so much harm also. Thank you, and your presentation was quite revealing, quite informative. Maritime transport, green shipping, how does shipping have an impact on ecological sustainability. Friends, I'm sure we all have really enjoyed the presentations by all our three panel speakers. This session is exceptional in the sense that it is running ahead of time. So either we can end it ahead of time if you all want it that way, or we can have enough number of Q&A. So the session is open for Q&A, but our organizers have decided that we should follow this system of using your ID cards. You can just tap it on the instrument in front of you on the table. I get your names on the screen here. Then I will call you all one by one, depending on the number of questions we have. But rest assured, we have enough time for Q&A. But I disclose that if you don't ask, we can end soon. So please don't refrain from asking. Please do ask. Oh, wow. We have the first question from Rear Admiral Khurshid Alam Sab from Bangladesh. Sab, please identify. Yes. Mic, please. You may please mention if it is directed to any one of the panelists, you may directly mention that answer.
Thank you, Chair. Of course, my question is directed to Admiral Takenaka from Japan. And I have two parts of the question. First one is your presentation on the free, open Indo-Pacific was a very good one, but your limit of the FOIP was shown up to the east coast of Africa. But the limit of the US FOIP is normally shown up to east coast of India. And like others, France, Canada, they all have separate limits in their declaration. Do you think is going to create some misconception among the other countries, in case of following the FOIP, which one to follow, where to go? That is the first part. The other part is, as you all know, that both Japan, China and USA, you are having military base in Djibouti within 200 meters of each other and living quite well. There's no problem there, So do you as an admiral think that the Indian Ocean is big enough space for accommodating all these big powers in the future, or is going to create a big problem? Thank you.
Admiral, before you answer, just one clarification. US vision includes India's western coastline as the limit,
yes,
not the eastern.
Western coastline, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Admiral, you can please.
Just a moment, please. I have to understand what you say. Just a moment, please.
If others have questions, you can continue that procedure. Just tap on the machine.
I'm sorry, I'm waiting for you. The first question, I speak Japanese, just a moment, and translate her. She's translate my speech. 一つ目のフォイブのインド洋と太平洋を結ぶ絵についての大きすぎるのではないかとか、アメリカ、フランスなどとのギャップ、考え方のギャップがあるという質問なんですけど、フォイップが目指しているのはインド洋と太平洋が連結する非常に大きなエリアであって、そこの安定性を保つことが大事だと、それが国々の発展に大きく寄与するという考え方です。これが一つあります。イメージ、アフリカ東岸までイメージは出ていますけれども、これもインド洋に含まれる大きな経済活動に必要なエリアだと思っています。当然、海上自衛隊はアデン湾で海賊対処活動をしていますので、そのエリアもこのフォイプの中に含むものになります。これが一つ目の答えです。
So your first question about the free and open Indo-Pacific concept. So the whole concept is about the connectivity of the oceans, the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and the theme is about the stability of that area. And as we were showing on the map, it is of course a very wide area, so the image is that all of the countries that are in the region or rely on that stability, and it is the whole economic platform for the countries that are within the area. And as we mentioned in the presentation, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, we also have conduct counter-piracy operations in the Gulf of Aden, and that is because it is an area where it is essential for the stability of our economy. So it is all part of the economic platform of the countries in the region.
Thank you. This is a big challenge, Admiral, the definitional challenge. If you go by what His Excellency said in the morning about this region being a civilization, number comes down. You go by the definition of IORA, it is 23 plus 11. But if you go by stakeholdership, the countries that have major stakes in the region, the number goes to 38 or even more. So how do you define it? Is a challenge with this whole idea of Indian Ocean. We prefer to define it by stakeholdership so that it is more inclusive. US, France, Germany, many countries have stakes here. Yeah, any more questions, please? I want to place just two questions for any of the panelists to take. Admiral Nawaz talked about areas beyond natural jurisdiction. Now there is this new concept called Maritime Global Commons. Some see it as an exploitative idea. It gives big powers the opportunity to exploit the marine resources. Some see it as a judicious way of managing maritime resources so that there is a global commons concept and we decide how to probably exploit those resources. In your opinion, which idea is more, probably we should look at it from which perspective is something that I wanted to hear from any of these panelists. And the second idea that I want to leave before the panelists to ponder over is, now we are thinking about marine resources, blue economy, needs of growth and need for sustainability. This is the whole framework within which we are discussing blue economy. Countries have to grow, they have their developmental needs, the resources on the earth are not sufficient anymore, so you should go and exploit the resources in the oceans. And oceans have abundant resources, they can probably supplement the resources that are available, or probably we can do better by using marine resources than using the resources on the earth. But that leads to the question of sustainability, the question of ocean pollution, ocean health and all these issues. Can growth be delinked from oceans? You have certain limit to which you will exploit oceans. Beyond that, in a way, ocean, in the context of ocean, is degrowth. No more dependence on oceans for growth. Is something like that possible? This is a debate that is developing in the world, the degrowth idea. Like you have to somewhere stop exploiting the oceans. Is that an idea worth pondering over? I leave these two questions to panelists. Whoever want to take it up.
Okay, I'll take the second question. I think leaving the ocean out that may not be possible, or that may not be necessary, But I like the idea what you said in the beginning, the sustainability, the sustenance of, you use these resources to make sure that they remain sustainable. And, the challenge which I see, for example, I was hoping this question would come, essentially, in this region, for example, I'll talk of my country. For example, there is often the lack of awareness about the sustainability issue. For the fisherman who's engaged in destructive fishing practices using the prohibited nets, he has a short-sighted vision to gain, to make some money, but he's not really aware of the long-term damage that it is causing to the ecosystem. And he's not really aware that in the long run, the generations to come will actually not have the resource to benefit from. So I think that where there is lack of awareness, that we need to create, and where there is an awareness and there may be perhaps some lack of responsibility, that needs to be created, that we need to be both aware and responsible in making use or benefiting from this resource. I tend to think that, leaving it aside from the growth or not really benefiting from that may not really be a very workable idea. I would tend to say that awareness to make sure that whatever you're doing is sustainable on the long term, and doing it responsibly. So that's what I think.
So there cannot be like Amazon forest, there cannot be Amazon protected ocean. It is not possible, you think. I agree. In fact, you are right. This question of overexploitation, India and Sri Lanka face it all the time in the Park Strait, this bottom trawling. Although it's not done by fishermen, it's done by big companies with huge, vessels. Complete sweeping of the ocean bed of the resources, marine resources. Yeah, this is a challenge. One is, of course, awareness. Second is, of course, stringent governance measures are also required. Commander? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of almost a combination of your two questions. What do I understand by the global commons, and then what do I think about the management? I think the global commons is a collective responsibility, and a realization that we have to manage it globally through. And I thought a lot of your presentation drew out how we can better do that internationally. And then I think there's something about the management of the resources. I think for a farmer on land, it's easily understandable that if you repeatedly try and grow your crops on a stretch of land without allowing the land to recover, your crops will fail. It's not as easy to understand that when you're looking for resource from the sea. And so I think nationally we have a responsibility, in the same way that every government has a responsibility to look after the needs of its people. Protein is an incredibly important source of the majority of the world. But we need to educate those who are going out and effectively doing the equivalent of relaying the crops on the land, but destroying the land's ability to grow the crops. It's got to work long term. It's got to be sustainable, and destroying the aquaculture in a region and then moving on to the next region because you can then destroy that one and then moving on to the next region. It is not sustainable. And so there's an education and a responsibility, and I think that needs to be at the national level into international organizations, because ultimately you're responsible for those who leave your port, and you as the government should understand the significance internationally of getting it wrong. And so there's a real balance, isn't there, of trying to support your own population's needs, but at the same time understanding that that's not a long-term solution.
持続的な活動の重要性、取り組みの重要性についてはもう言うまでもないと思っています。ただ我々はその海軍主であるので、やはり海洋の安定ということに力を尽くすべきだと思っています。海洋の安定というのはすべからく経済活動の基盤になり、各国が安定的に海洋を利用して経済活動ができるようになる。もう一度言いますが、海軍主というのはやはり海洋の安定を確保する、グローバルコモンズである海洋の安定を確保するというところに努力を傾注すべきだと思っています。そしてこのゴールダイアログのような場は、我々海軍主のメンバーが認識をなるべく共有していく、それを高めていく有効な場になると私は思っています。
Of course, it goes without saying that consideration for the sustainability of economy and environment is, of course, important. However, being in a naval uniform and being part of member of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, we must also focus that on the fact that it is our responsibility to commit to the stability of the oceans, and that will become the basis of the economic activities of each country. And the stability of the global commons, the oceans, is purely the basis of all the economic activities in the private sector. And for example, this event, the Galle Dialogue, is a very good platform for all participating countries to share our views and ideas. So using these opportunities to promote mutual understanding and to promote these efforts is an effort that we respect and should use.
Thank you. I still don't see any further names on my screen. If there is any difficulty with the technology part, you can raise your hand. Yeah, please. One second, one question. Somebody wanted to ask a question here, then we'll come to you, Commander. Yeah, Admiral. This side.
I am RAdm Anwar from Bangladesh. I like to throw my opinion about the last discussion about the sustainable growth. What I understand that the ocean has enough resources to support the mankind, but difference is between the need and desire. What I need, I desire more than that. So there is a instability. We go for over-exploitation. So we need to fix the limit of the growth. If we can do it collectively, I think this question will not arise. And we need to limit the desire, that how much it should be more than the need. In one part, we have over-exploitation. In another part, we have what we need is exploitation is less. So there has to be balanced. If I go beyond my jurisdiction for over-exploitation, that is a problem. And if I don't do the national jurisdiction what I have, then again there is a problem. So we have many forums. There are forums, bilateral, minilateral, multilateral, and many more you have said. So we need to fix what should be our need and how much we should desire. Thank you.
Thank you. Adding to what you said, countries have different capacities to exploit also. Some countries have more technology availability, more technology access, more financial access to to exploit the ocean resources. Many countries don't. So there is an inherent inequality in exploitation of the resources, legitimate exploitation also. Anyway, I have one question though from Professor Da Yong Hang from China. Professor, you please identify yourself. Yeah, mic please.
Okay, so I have a question addressing to Japanese Admiral. ESG has become so important for every country, especially for the developed countries and also emerging new economies. You have mentioned this importance of environmental protection. And we know that a few years ago that Japan and India co-sponsored this Indo-African Economic Corridor. So could you please elaborate something more about these joint efforts of ESG taken by Japan and India? Because recently we are wondering that Japanese government action in releasing this polluted, contaminated nuclear water in the Pacific Ocean, which make many countries doubt about Japanese, because Japan has a good reputation of ESG. You mentioned, you said that Japan is a country that highly attach great importance to ESG, right? But your recent action in Pacific region cannot prove the word that you are going to contribute to the ESG, the ecology, social responsibility, and governance in protecting this planet ocean.
Got it, Professor. Got it.
So could you elaborate a little more? Thank you.
You can take time. Yeah. Meanwhile, sir, you wanted to add something. Yeah. Sir, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Just to answer your query, sir, I want to add that right now, as per UNCLOS, up to 350 nautical miles of the seabed and subsoil is under the jurisdiction of the coastal country. Up to 350. Beyond that, seabed and subsoil is controlled by the International Seabed Authority in Kingston, Jamaica. So that means anybody who wants to, exploit mineral resources beyond 350, they have to get a license from the International Seabed Authority. That means the global common is also covered. There are 32 licenses so far have been issued by the International Seabed Authority, covering mostly the developed countries. In this area, India, China, Singapore has applied for 2 licenses each. Other countries are not. But also on the water, beyond 200-mile water was also part of the global commons. But now a new treaty has come into, not into force, but has been drafted and approved. That is called biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction. That means in the water column, there are resources like marine genetic resource, from which you can actually find out a lot of medicinal benefits, including cancer and others. Western world has already applied for more than 4,000 patents on the marine genetic resource. But developing countries like us and most of the countries in the Indian Ocean region, we really do not have much of the news. But this BBNG treaty will allow other developed countries to take this resource, but with the consent of the coastal countries, and also they will have to share the benefit with the coastal countries. There will be a data bank. So the global commons is coming some sort of under control by the DUALOS UN system as well as International Seabed Authority. Thank you, sir, for listening to me and giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
先ほどの中国の教授からの質問に対して答えたいと思います。
So I would like to make my response to you, Professor.
一つ目のインドとの関係について SDGs とは直接的に関係ありませんけれども、インド海軍、アメリカ、オーストラリア、日本4カ国の共同訓練枠組みであるマラバールという演習を通じてお互いの戦術技量の向上に努めています。
Although this does not directly involve global sustainable growth, I would like to mention that our ties with India, especially in joint exercise framework called Malabar, including Japan, India, the United States, and Australia, is a big framework that we are making efforts in to build our capacity.
そうした4カ国の共同訓練の枠組みは我々の戦術的な技量向上につながっている。またインターオペラビリティの向上につながっています。それが大目的ですが、それも間接的にインドパシフィックエリアの安定につながっているというふうに考えています。
And the framework itself is aimed at building capacity and improving interoperability, which will which will contribute to the peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific region.
おそらく次の先ほど後半の指摘、日本の海洋環境に対するレスポンシビリティなどに対する質問、意見が主なポイントと思われているんだと思います。
And the second part of your question involving Japan's responsibilities towards the maritime environment.
私は海上自衛官ですので、こうした海軍種が集まるダイアローグの場で政治的な要素を占める受け答えをするのがいいかどうか今迷っています。
As I am a member of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, I'm not confident if I should be stepping into some political views in this kind of event.
私はあくまでも制服を着ている海上自衛隊のオフィサーでありますので、答えるこうした場で、中国の教授の方と言い争いになるのは好ましいとは思っていませんが、日本の立場を説明するとすれば、国際的な原子力規制機関である IAEA の科学的な基準に基づいた処置を日本としては取っており、その措置に多くの国が理解を示してくれているというふうに理解しています。
Of course, it is not my intention to have any kind of to be speaking of a political issue at this kind of event, especially because I am in uniform. However, to be clear of Japan's the Japan government's understandings, the Japan's actions are based on international standards shown by the IAEA. And that the global community shows understanding that we have cleared such standards. That is my understanding.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I don't see any further questions on the screen. No supplementaries, please.
Moderator, excuse me.
No supplementaries, please. No supplementaries.
I just responded to.
No,
I think it's
please.
okay.
No
It's an
need. You can discuss-
ESG
you-
issue.
You can discuss with him later because so many issues come up. China releases half of its rural plastic waste into oceans. This is World Bank report. Should we discuss here now? So there are many issues that we need to discuss when it comes to every country has responsibility. We all know countries like Japan, they are big countries, they know. He answered to you that IAEA is involved in the whole process. So international agencies we have to believe. Now we have experiences. Admiral Nawaz talked about adhering to international standards, international conventions. But countries blatantly violate convention orders. Now, conventions have voice, but no teeth. They can give orders, but they cannot implement. Here comes the issue of how much responsibility individual nations take rather than pointing fingers at others. We need to take up responsibility about it, or we need to create a governance model. A model where, that's why I said, it's not just about protesting. It's also about punishing. If something is violated, we cannot just protest, but it also should entail punishment. Today, such conventions are very rare in our system, in our global system. So it is a very complicated issue. We need not probably make it, as Admiral pointed out, not very political, but these are issues which probably need to be approached a little more carefully. Friends, I thought that now that a good discussion has happened, I give a couple of minutes for panelists to make any concluding comments if you want to make. Otherwise, we can. You have any concluding comments to make? No? Edward? Okay. Thank you. So. You don't know what I'm going to say. No, wait. Later. Yeah, I will know later. No, I'm not commenting on you. Please take your seat.
It's not political issue.
No, it's fine.
It's a technical issue.
Fine. You can definitely talk to him later. Yeah. Friends, we will close this session here, and our organizers will probably take it forward.
Thank you very much, Dr. Madhav, for moderating this session and the three speakers for presenting their papers. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now take this opportunity to invite the Deputy Chief of Staff of Sri Lanka Navy, Rear Admiral Pradeep Ratnayake, to present the mementos to the moderator and the three speakers as tokens of appreciation for their participation. Dr. Ram Madhav, the President, India Foundation.
Thank you, Admiral. Thank you.
Rear Admiral Takenaka Nobuyuki, the Director General, Operations and Plans Department of the Maritime Staff Office, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force. Yes, sir. Vice Admiral Raja Nawaz, Commander Coast of Pakistan Navy. Commodore Simon Kelly, the Deputy Commander, United Kingdom Strike Force of Royal Navy. Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have come to the end of the proceedings of day 1 of this conference.